Good morning, this is Mrs. Yule. I'm going to do a quick review of histograms with you today. This is part of your week 1 through 3 packet, and I have some smart notebook slides that I want to share with you as we go along. I think it makes it easier, at least it does for me. So we're looking at histograms, and the central question would be, how can you use intervals, tables, and graphs to organize data? You've done a little bit of this with Mrs. Lofts, and now we're going to be looking at this again and using histograms in particular. So yesterday you made bar graphs, so we're going to go over that first. Make a tally chart and bar graph of the data. So whenever I collect a bunch of data, I need to do something with it. The first step in organizing it is to make a tally chart. That means I am going to tell how many had what. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4 by 3. So there were 12 people who answered this survey as to the number of siblings. Somebody had 4, this person had 1, this person had 1, this person had 3. This data like this, just the rough data, is not very helpful to me. So I'm going to organize it first into a tally chart and then into a bar graph. Tally charts simply tell me, here's the number of siblings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Over here, this tells me how many had that number. So here, 3 people had 1 sibling, 4 people had 2, 2 people had 3. And then if you notice, this is the bar chart that's associated. They gave the graph a title, which is siblings. They labeled the x-axis with what it is, which is the number of siblings. They also put the numbers on it, which is really important. For the y, what is on it is the number of students, and here are the number of times that happened. So again, this means that for 1 sibling, there were 3 people who answered that. So this one, if you're not good at making bar graphs, you should go back and watch that video again, or get a hold of us at a class meeting and we can talk about it. Now we are going to do histograms today, which are a type of bar graphs. So a histogram is a bar graph that shows the frequency of data values in intervals of the same size. These are what they mean by intervals of the same size: 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 29, up 20 through 29, and then 30 through 39. So the intervals go down here on the X, and notice they told me what their intervals of. This is numbers of CDs. And the height of the bar represents the frequency, or how many times it happened. So the frequency, you need to label that on your Y, and then actually also put numbers on this. So this means that 4 people had 0 to 9 CDs. And we're going to actually make one of these just to practice. So the frequency table here shows the numbers of laps that people in a swimming class completed today. Describe the data in a histogram. So the people were asked, how many laps do you swim? The people who swam 1, 2, or 3 laps, there were 11 of them. There were 4 people who swam between 4 and 6 laps, etc. So we're going to draw and label the axis and draw a bar to represent the frequency of each interval, or how many times did it happen. So on the x-axis go your intervals, or the number of laps. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 to 6, 7 through 9. On the y-axis is going to be the frequency. We're going to go from 0, which is my smallest, and I want to go a little bit bigger than my biggest. Same thing as always when I'm making scales. So let's take a look at this. Okay, so here are my intervals, 1 to 3, and notice that, let me move this down a little bit. It has number of laps, it has frequency, they gave the graph a title, laps completed, and then each one of these bars represents how many. So 1 to 3, there were 11, 4 to 6, there were 4. You need to leave a gap if there aren't any, so 7 through 9 had 0, you still need to leave that. Here is 10 through 12, and I can read off this. There were 3, 13 through 15, there were 6. So this would be the histogram associated with this tally chart. How'd you do with that one? Here is one for you to try. This one says the frequency table shows the number of people riding a roller coaster. Display the data in the histogram. If I were you, I would pause this, make the histogram, and then check. So we're going to take a look at this histogram. We'll see how you did. Notice that we gave it a name, riding a roller coaster. Frequency is the Y. I have the title as well as the scale or the numbers on the left hand or the Y-axis. And then here on the X-axis, I have the age and I have the intervals all grouped out. Notice I left the space for 0 through 10. So for 10 to 19, I have 16. 20 through 29, I have 11, etc. Hopefully you did that one correctly. If not, change what mistakes you made, and then just keep that in mind as you're making these. So you can display data in lots of different ways. This data display shows how many push-ups students in a class completed for a physical fitness test. We all love push-ups. So which data display can you use to find how many students are in the class? Explain. Here's my circle graph. There are 40% who did 20 through 29. So 20% of the students did between 10 and 19. And notice that I can have them over here. So for my histogram, number of push-ups goes on my x-axis. My intervals are 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 19. And number of students, or my frequency, is what is going over here on my y-axis. And I'm going bigger than the total number, or how many students were in the class. So if I look at this, I know from 0 to 9, there are going to be 3. I would say 5 students did 10 through 19. Here I know the percentages, but I don't know the number of students. So in this case, let's look at our answer. Oops, I think it is on the next page. I hope I put it there. Ah, here it is. So you can use the histogram because it shows the number of students in each interval. The sum of these values represent the number of students in the class. You cannot use a circle graph because it does not show the number of students in each interval. So in this case, you would definitely want to use the histogram for that. And that was all the review for this. Hopefully this will help you do the worksheets and make the graphs associated with histograms. Again, if you have questions, come to the class meetings and we'll be able to help you there. Thank you so much for watching this, and we'll see you next time.